In this lesson, we're going to learn how to find the midpoint between 2 points. Now, the midpoint, as the name would suggest, is the point that's in the middle of these two coordinates that you're given. All right, as we've done before, let's start with putting these points onto our graph. So the point 1, 2 is here, and the point 5, 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5 is here, 5, 5 is up there. Now, if I was to join these up with a line, just so we can see what we've got, what I want to find is a point here, which I'll call M, the midpoint. I want to find the coordinates of that point M. Now, we know that this one here is 1, 2, and this one up here was 5, 5. So if you think about what we've done, what we need is we want a point that's halfway between here and here for our x value. Halfway between 1 and 5 would be the midpoint. So we can probably work out here just by looking at it, it's going to be in there. Halfway between 1 and 5 is 3. If you look over here, this was 2 and this was 5 on our y-axis. Halfway between 2 and 5, it's not immediately obvious. It's going to be around about in there somewhere, which sort of looks like it's matching up. Now, once again, we don't want to always have to draw the graph. We don't want to have to go, oh, it's thereabouts. What we want to find is halfway between these 2 points, here and here. Halfway between these 2 points here and here. Now, if you think about finding halfway, what we're actually going to do is find the average of our 2 points. So, to get the coordinates of our midpoint, what we're going to do is get the average of the 2x values. So get the 2x values, add them together, and then halve it. That's how you get the average of two numbers. You add them together and you halve it. To get the middle point, the average of our two y values, add them together and halve them. Now, as we've done when we did our distance between 2 points, we differentiated by our two x values by calling them x from the first bracket, x from the second bracket, y from the first bracket, y from the second bracket. And then up here, we put that, we'll call that one x1, and I'll just fix that up. We call that x1 and y1, and we call that x2, y2, which just means the x and y from the first bracket, the x and the y from the second bracket. So let's substitute those into our formula here. Two x values, x is there, the first one is always the x, remember? So I'm going to go 1 plus 5 and then halve it. For our y values, let's change colour so you can see. There's the y value there, there's the y value there. So I'm going to go 2 plus 5, then halve it. Now you can go to your calculator here, or you can just do this in your head. 1 plus 5 is 6. Half of 6 is 3. 2 plus 5 is 7. Half of 7 is 3.5, or 3.5. So the midpoint, which is the point in the middle, is 3, 3.5, which is pretty much what we expected anyway. 3, 3.5 here is our midpoint. 3.5 and 3. Pretty simple. Let's try another example. Calculate the midpoint between these two coordinates. Let's start actually by looking under here. Label your two sets of brackets. So let's call this one x1 and y1. Let's call this one x2, y2. Doesn't matter if you do it the other way around, does not matter. Next step, write down the formula. So we've got our midpoint formula. midpoint formula says to find the midpoint, get your two x values, add them together, halve it. Get your two y values, add them together, halve them. It doesn't matter whether you go 2 then 1, 2 then 1, because you think about it, you're just adding them together. So it doesn't matter whether you do them in this order or swap them around, you're going to get the same answer. Next step says substitute the values from the bracket. So let's go. I'm going to get the x from the first bracket, which is minus 2. Get the x from the second bracket, which is 6. Add them together, halve them. The y from the first bracket is minus 5. The y from the second bracket is 8. Add them together, halve them. You can go to your calculator here, or you can just do it in your head, because that very next step just says calculate. So minus 2 plus 6, I know that's going to be 4, and then I need to halve 4, so I'm going to get 2. Minus 5 plus 8, if I think about a number line, I'm starting at minus 5, adding 8 on, I get to 3, and then I need to halve 3, I get 1.5. So my midpoint is 2, 1.5. Now, if you can't do that in your head, that's okay. Just use your calculator. Make sure you use your fraction template so the right numbers go in the numerator and in the denominator, and be really careful with your minuses, and then you won't be tricked, because it does not get any harder than that.